willing to join us here on Facebook Live, whether you're live right now or you're watching it later on. We appreciate it. So today, for our volunteer training, I want to do my best to invest in you volunteers and help you understand 5 ways to welcome a nervous child. I think if we've been volunteering long enough in children's ministry, then we've seen the kids who come in who are maybe shy, maybe not so sure about the situation. They might be new, or they might just be having a bad day. It could be anything. But when a child comes in and when they're nervous, they're not sure about the situation, they're not sure about their surroundings, we want to make sure that they are welcomed and they are involved in what is happening. Because when a child becomes involved in what is happening here at church, they learn more. And they grow, and they take more steps. They take steps to further become like Christ and to learn more about Him. So I think even though this is something that maybe we think about, oh, it's kind of an important thing, I think this is one of the most important things when it comes to kids in ministry. Making sure every child, whether they're new, whether they're old, whether it's their very first time, whether they've been there 1,000 times, we want to make sure that they are welcome and they have the sense of belonging in whatever situation they're in, whether it's Kid Zone or We Kids. So let's go ahead and get right down to it. The first way is to name the child. Now obviously the child already has a name, but we want to make sure that when we greet them, when we say hello to them, that one of the first things we say to them is their name. That's what they are known by, that's who they are to themselves, and that's what they want to be called. And so when you immediately establish that connection of, hey, Lucy, or whatever your name is, hello, it's so nice to meet you. My name is Mr. John, and it is great to have you here today, Lucy, or whatever your name is, okay? Now, obviously, don't actually say that, but we want to make sure that every single conversation we're having with them, just about every single time we say it, we want to say their name. And it's going to seem silly because you wouldn't talk this way to a normal adult, and maybe the kid will give you a weird look after a while, but it's vitally important to make sure that their name is recognized in your mind and to make sure that they recognize that you know it. And it's also a good conversation starter with a child. You can say, hey, my aunt or my uncle or somebody else in my life in this way, shape, or form, they have the same name as you. Or I really, really like that name. That is a very pretty name. That's a very cool name, man. Try to find a way to compliment them, talk about their name a little bit, and it kind of breaks down any barriers that they have, and you've established a connection with them already, regardless of what else is going around. You see, little conversations about names can create an immediate connection with that child. And that's ultimately what we're trying to do with a nervous child. Is we are trying to establish some type of connection, some type of just joinment between the two of you so that they can find somebody that they can lean on if they get nervous. Number 2, we want to give the child a tour. Okay? Just like if you were to walk into a place that you've never seen before, you want to know, okay, how does this place work? What's going to happen? What happens here? What happens there? What should I do when I walk in? We want to try and give them a tour of sorts. Now, obviously, you're not going to walk them around the room and say, this is where the Legos are played, or this is where we color at here. You might not do that exactly, but you can say to them, hey, right now, we're just playing around until we start. So you have probably about 5-10 minutes before we get started. So feel free to go run around, play some basketball, or go color with some of those girls or those boys, or go play with those blocks. Give them something that they can do, and we want to make sure we do that with them. And while you're playing, while you're doing something like that together, you can say, hey, so you see those chairs over there, or you see that area over there, we're going to go sit there here in a minute. And if you want, I will sit with you, and we will have time where we can sit and listen to what's going to happen. And then after that, you can explain a little bit more if they ask questions, and you can just continue to explain what's going to happen. You see, kids are in a routine in their life. Their routine makes them feel comfortable. The routine helps them out in their lives. And so when they defer from their routine, this is especially true for new children, when they defer from their routine, things become uncomfortable. They become uncomfortable. And so we want to make sure that we can get rid of that uncomfort as much as we possibly can. And helping them by giving them a tour is one of the many ways we can do this. Step number 3 is team the child up with others. okay? It's great that you've established a connection with the child. At this point, if you have named the child and you have given them a tour, you've already established a connection. But the child isn't just comfortable with one connection. They are comfortable with that one connection being their ultimate connection because it's the first person they connected with. But they're going to want other connections as well. So find some other kids who maybe are the same age as them, possibly the same gender as them, and give them time to be together. They don't necessarily need to talk. You don't need to put 3 kindergartners together and they talk about their entire day and what's happening with the weather outside and how their soccer teams are doing. They don't need to necessarily talk about that, but they sit at the table and they color together, or maybe they play with some blocks together, or different things like that. They can establish a connection without ever even saying a word. Number 4, you want to remain close by. Obviously, you don't want to hover over this child because you want to give them space and give them time to be able to connect with the other kids. But we do not want to say, okay, they're good, and walk away. Because this child at some point in time, most likely, is going to feel uncomfortable. They're going to wonder what's happening next, maybe, something that they didn't get, or they're going to feel uncomfortable with the kids they're with, or maybe the kids they're with run away and they don't know what they're doing, so they're left on their own. They're going to feel uncomfortable at some point in time. And they need that first connection to go back to. And so whoever that first connection was, we want to make sure that that person is close by so that when they ultimately get up from what they're doing and look around for that first connection, they can say, oh, they're over there. And that way we can stay and we can see what's happening and we can say, hey, did you not see your friends went over there to play with the ball? Or did you not see your friends went over here? Do you want me to go with you? Do you want me to stay with you? And when that connection is consistent, that connection makes everything easier for them, makes everything more comfortable for them, and ultimately gives them a better environment to learn and grow and know Jesus more. Number 5 is you want to offer the child kind correction. Now, when a child is new, maybe not so much for the kids who have been there before, but I still want to be kind. I want to reiterate that. Always be kind whenever we're correcting the kids. But what I mean by this is if we're going into, say, Kid Zone, we go sit in the blue chairs. If the kid is continuing to color over by themselves, but everybody else is sitting in the blue chairs, we don't want to go over to the kid and say, hey, you need to go to the blue chairs. We want to go over to them and we want to say, hey, honey, we are going over to the blue chairs right now. We'll have time to color later. We'll have time to do this later. What we want to do right now is we want to follow what we're doing and go sit in the blue chairs. Or maybe it's huddle time over in Kids Zone. Or maybe in We Kids, it's time to go sit over on the floor and we don't want to be over playing and jumping around. We want to take our time to sit together. And so we want to offer kind correction and give them an explanation if it needs to happen. We don't want to just say, hey, come on, let's go. We want to be there and we want to give that explanation. We want to give that kind correction. Just as we always would, always give kind correction. But some kids, they know what's happening, and some kids, they just need a little, hey, let's go, come on, you know what to do. And they say, okay, I'll put the basketball down and I'll go. This happens with the boys in Kids Zone. I say, let's put the basketball down, boys. And they say, well, one more shot. Okay, one more shot. Well, then it turns into 5 more shots. And I say, let's go, you guys know what to do. Now, that's not being unkind, but that is different from the correction I would give a new boy who's coming in who might seem a little nervous, okay? And so really, at the end of the day, if we practice these 5 ways right here, if we practice naming the child, giving a tour, teaming them up with others, remaining close by, and, offering the child kind correction, if we do these 5 ways, then we can make sure that any kid who comes in to the building, who comes into the situation, who is nervous, I'm not going to say they won't be nervous at all anymore, but they will be comforted, they will have a better understanding of what's happening, and they'll be able to connect more with what is happening there. And so finally, I want to say what we said at the end last time, which I think is so true for our lives. We want to have God above me, kids before me, and love inside of me. I think if we practice those 3 things when we are volunteering, when we are serving with kids, there is nothing that can be worse. There's nothing that can go wrong. God above me, kids before me, love inside of me. Thank you so much.